knees were not doing well doing that kneeling there.
Your kitchen days are over, is that what you meant?
For a while. So related to the ERP system, ERP is one of those acronyms. ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. It's probably best known as the core software application. Most folks tend to think about it in terms of the financial system, the general ledger, payables, receivables, those kinds of things, payroll and HR. And we included, because we're a local government, right, some very specific municipal functions, permitting inspections, code enforcement, licensing, work orders. The scope of our assessment was to look at these applications today, and we used a similar approach to what Dale described on the IT infrastructure review that was really focused on bringing that core committee together to kick things off and putting together a series of steps where we went and we talked and we spoke with, collected up a series of documents, but went and spoke with a lot of the key users from a lot of the different areas that are involved with, either from like a ownership of the application, right, talking with Jason and the finance team, right, related to that system, but we talked with folks broadly across the city from many departments on their perspectives of users of the system, right? So there's kind of this concept of a process owner and a process customer, but you know, we all play together in the sandbox, and so the goal certainly is to have an environment where the data that we are tracking is all visible to one another. So what we found today is something very typical with what we see from all kinds of municipalities across the country, in the fact that our systems grew up here at the City of Taylor over time, right? And so it was kind of an incremental investment model, so that we're essentially adding pieces and components to that scope of finance, payroll, HR, and some of the community development functions, right, over time. And what that translates to is a hodgepodge, right? Probably looks like my basement a little bit. And so what that means is that there are a series of core applications, software applications, that do a lot of the functions, but there's a whole scattered set of additional applications, and then on top of that, we call them shadow systems, but Excel spreadsheets and little access databases that are used out in many different departments to track things that are also being tracked in the central system. And so that's pretty inefficient in the fact, right, that there's like I don't trust the core system, I keep my own, so we spend a lot of time reconciling.
Data. That kind of be more of an issue.
Very much so, very much so. So we see this very typically in a lot of communities. This is an environment where things were progressively invested over time. And you know, this is really an environment that we see is not the most efficient. And the ideal is a little bit of a change up, right? And so in an environment, and there are software applications that we see, and we see a lot of communities put these in, which are designed and, if you will, built specifically for local government, right? So this is not QuickBooks that you can buy at Best Buy and next install. There's fund accounting and GASB and very specific municipal things. You can't go buy at Best Buy that would be an example, absolutely. But an ideal circumstance is one where a system is built for the kinds of things that we do in a municipal government, and we've selected that system with some consensus and buy-in, and we all choose to use it. And then with that, all of those applications that I was describing tend to fall out through that transition. And so through the security and access within the system, everyone has visibility to the information they need to do their job, and there is a single source of the truth. And we update it and we use it on an operational basis, and we become much more efficient over time. Now, that is a lofty goal, and getting to that takes time, certainly, but an environment that exists today is almost by design creating inefficiencies. And so the commitment to move towards an environment where you've got built-in functionality based on what public sector organizations do and take advantage of those best practices and the types of tools and technologies that are becoming available. So we've got a strategic direction that we had in our report, and our recommendation is simply this. Within the realm of the ERP applications that are out there in the marketplace, there are many. There are hundreds and hundreds, and it's not one size fits all. And so there are some really large ones, and if you've got experience in other aspects of your lives, you hear of SAP and Oracle and some of the really big names. And then I was mentioning QuickBooks, but Peachtree and all the way. And so there is this large continuum, but there is a niche for local governments. And even within that, there's this span. And so we have some research and provided some names within the report of a series of different vendors that really focus in on local government. And they're probably names, you know, you mentioned Munis,
Well,
Tyler Technologies.
Munis doesn't really have a CMMS, you know, like for maintenance management, which, you know, so you have to bridge that gap with a Maximo or something else.
So these are some examples. There are actually some changes happening specifically with that product.
Yeah,
Um,
oh, good.
But there are other applications and other providers as well. And so our recommendation is that the city really embrace the concept of a single system that satisfies, but that is one that is very specifically built for the public sector and local government. And so we've got some plans in there related to that direction. And we've also have some very more kind of tactical plans in terms of, based on, and this is kind of a sampling of some of the applications that we're using here at the city today to perform a lot of those. And so we have we call it an application migration plan. Some of them specifically that we intend to be replaced. Some of them, let's keep. And others that we would intend to keep, but interface and integrate to that new application. And so there's some more details specifically within the report that focus on that. But we'd suggest that that process be a formal public sector procurement through an RFP process where we evaluate, we describe those needs, and there's a lot of information within the report that helps with that, and go out to bid through an RFP process, and really do it in a transparent way, but with a core team of folks that are going to be involved in the implementation, because we need, our team needs to be involved in the selection of their tool. And I'll tell you that our steering committee meeting was 2 weeks ago. I think that there was some very strong consensus in this goal, in this objective, this direction. So it was probably slightly longer than the 10 minutes I was hoping to do it within,
Still pretty good.
but better twice, cut once. Questions on either the infrastructure or the ERP?
In our current situation we're at right now, 0 being the worst, 10 being the best, where are we at? In your opinion?
Not in the top half.
Okay.
Specifically related to
Are
the
there
ERP.
minus numbers involved?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So
Now, do you have a document to hand out to us at all about?
On the corner.
yeah. So I don't recall the link to the report. There was some.
After the implementation, will we be up in that upper half?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I'll be very, very careful if we use it. So let's not buy something and put it on a shelf.
Right.
Let's make sure that we do it in a way which, right? Let's make sure we do it in a way which there is buy-in and there is leadership. Very candidly, right? Going shopping is fun and easy comparatively. Changing your business process to use a new tool is change. I know how I love it when my wife tells me, hey Mark, go change this. Yeah, exactly. Right? So input, involvement, sponsorship during the implementation. This is what we will be putting in and we will be utilizing. You were involved in it. That takes some commitment, that takes some sponsorship internally to do. That is not something that you turn in and flip a switch in a couple of months. That takes a bit of time.
Do we have an estimated cost?
And I don't have it here with me, but we did share some projections and estimates. So, you know, you can go out and you can buy a go-kart, you can go and buy a Expedition and an Explorer, right? But so that there is a range,
Where do we have that?
It's in the $1 million range, I can tell you that.
it is, and it would the north side you can
That would
always
be
buy. You can
strong.
always buy more, right? The low end of the range is maybe just over half of that, and it always goes on up. Communities of your size, I wouldn't anticipate would need to spend more than $1.5 million. That would be the high side of that range.
But being that we're so far in the basement, we would see the return on that pretty quickly.
There's absolutely the opportunity for that. Again, it is.
Are you a lawyer? Sorry, Judge.
I'm trying to be,
I know I'm teasing.
absolutely.
I can tell by your answers.
There you go. You got it.